Lesson 35. Learning without thinking. Thinking without learning. Confucius once said, "To learn without thinking is useless. To think without learning is dangerous." These words emphasize the necessity of combining both study and reflection. If you only memorize knowledge without reflection, it has no real value. On the other hand, if you spend your time thinking without a foundation of learning, your ideas lack stability and depth. True wisdom requires both learning and critical reflection, working together as the halves of the same whole. There was once a student named David. He worked tirelessly to memorize every word in his textbooks, filling his mind with endless pages of facts. Yet he never paused to question, reflect, or consider how the lessons applied to real life. One day, his teacher asked him a practical question. "David, how would you solve this problem if it happened in your own community?" David froze. Despite his long hours of study, he could not give a clear or meaningful answer. The teacher, seeing his struggle, gently explained, "Knowledge without thought is like food that is never digested. It cannot nourish the body. Only when you reflect and apply what you've learned will wisdom truly take root. Otherwise, your knowledge remains empty." These words struck David deeply. From that day forward, he began to change his habits. Instead of only memorizing, he set aside time each day to think about what he had studied. He asked himself questions, connected ideas to real-life situations, and practiced solving problems. Slowly, David discovered that his learning became alive. He no longer repeated words without meaning. He could now use his knowledge to make sound judgments and find real solutions. This lesson carries timeless value for us today. In modern society, surrounded by endless information from books, the internet, and social media, many people confuse memorization with true understanding. Some repeat facts, statistics, or quotes without ever reflecting on them. Others spend their time forming opinions without grounding them in knowledge or research. Both extremes lead to shallow thinking. The true path is balance. When we learn with reflection, we develop the ability to apply knowledge wisely in our careers, in our communities, and in our personal growth. It is not enough to simply know. We must also understand. And it is not enough to simply think. We must also learn. As Confucius taught, the union of study and reflection is the key to wisdom. It transforms information into understanding, and understanding into meaningful action. Lesson 36. What is lost cannot be recovered. What is not yet lost should not be carelessly thrown away. Confucius once said, "What has been lost cannot be regained, and what is not yet lost should not be hastily discarded." This teaching reminds us to avoid reckless decisions that cause us to lose what is truly valuable. Once something is gone, no matter how hard we try, it cannot be restored. But while we still have the chance, we must learn to protect, appreciate, and hold on to what matters most. There was once a man named Michael who lived with great ambition. In his pursuit of success, he made a hasty decision in business, believing that quick action would bring him greater fortune. He ignored careful planning and wise counsel. That single impulsive choice cost him an enormous opportunity, one that could have transformed his entire life. When the opportunity slipped away, Michael felt deep regret. No matter how much he wished, no matter how many times he replayed the decision in his mind, he could not change the past. One afternoon, a close friend came to visit him. Seeing Michael's sorrow, the friend spoke gently. "Do not drown in regret over what is gone. Instead, remember that what you still have today can also be lost tomorrow if you fail to cherish it. Protect what remains, for not everything can be given a second chance." These words struck Michael deeply. He realized that while he could not recover what had already slipped through his hands, he still had many blessings in his life: his health, his relationships, and the resources he had worked hard to build. From that moment on, he promised himself to move with greater care. He no longer rushed into decisions blindly. Instead, he learned to pause, reflect, and evaluate each choice, understanding that every action carried weight. This teaching is as relevant today as it was in ancient times. In our fast-moving society, many people make impulsive decisions, whether in business, relationships, or personal life, only to look back with regret. Opportunities, trust, and even loved ones can be lost forever through careless choices. While it is natural to mourn what is gone, wisdom lies in protecting what we still have. The lesson of Confucius is clear. We cannot always return to fix our mistakes, but we can prevent new ones by living with awareness and gratitude. What is lost may never return, but what we still hold in our hands can be safeguarded if only we choose to value it. Lesson 37. Without a good friend, you cannot recognize a bad one. And Confucius once said, if you have no good friends, you cannot recognize bad ones. This teaching highlights the importance of building healthy relationships. To truly understand what makes a bad friend, we must first experience and appreciate the presence of good friends. Only through genuine, trustworthy connections can we learn the difference between relationships that uplift us and those that harm us. There was once a man named Andrew. Throughout much of his life, Andrew remained closed off from others. He kept his distance, avoided trust, and never allowed anyone to come close. Because of this, he had no true friendships, only distant acquaintances. Deep down, he felt lonely, but he believed that keeping people away was safer than risking betrayal. One day, Andrew met a man named Mark. Unlike others, Mark was sincere, kind, and dependable. He reached out to Andrew during difficult times, offering support without expecting anything in return. At first, Andrew was hesitant to open his heart, but over time, he began to see Mark's consistency and genuine care. One evening, Mark said something that stayed with Andrew. You cannot know who a bad friend is if you never allow yourself to experience a good one. Only when you have real friendship can you learn to recognize its opposite. These words opened Andrew's eyes. He realized that by isolating himself, he had denied himself the gift of true friendship and, in turn, had no way to measure the difference between good and bad companions. By building trust with Mark, Andrew discovered the value of loyalty, kindness, and support. It was this experience that allowed him to understand the importance of distancing himself from those who were dishonest or self-serving. This lesson holds great meaning for us today. In modern society, where superficial connections are common and trust is often fragile, many people struggle to distinguish between relationships that are real and those that are false. Without experiencing the guidance and strength of a good friend, it becomes easy to fall into the traps of toxic or shallow bonds. Confucius teaches us that true friendship is not only a comfort, but also a guide. By cherishing and maintaining good friends, we gain clarity about the values that truly matter in life, and we learn how to avoid those who would lead us astray. Lesson 38. You cannot wish for everything, but you can do anything. Confucius once said, not everything can be asked for, but everything that needs to be done can be accomplished. This wisdom reminds us that although we cannot control or obtain everything we desire in life, we always have the power to take action and do what is within our reach. It is effort and action, not passive wishing, that lead to meaningful results. There was once a man named William. For much of his life, he felt powerless in the face of challenges. Whenever obstacles appeared, he convinced himself there was nothing he could do. Instead of trying, he simply waited, hoping circumstances would change or someone else would solve the problem for him. One day, William met his old friend Mr. Lee, a man who had endured and overcome countless difficulties in his life. Mr. Lee listened patiently as William spoke about his struggles, his frustration, and his feeling of helplessness. After a long pause, Mr. Lee said with calm conviction, "Life does not always give us everything we ask for, but what matters most is that we can still do many things if we persevere and give our best effort. Don't just sit and wait. Act." These simple words awakened something in William. He realized that while he might never control every outcome, he could control his own effort. He could choose to rise each morning with determination, to work steadily toward his goals, and to face his challenges with courage. The path forward was not about wishing for things to happen, it was about making them happen. Through consistent action. This lesson is timeless and deeply relevant in today's world. Modern society often encourages us to dream big, but can also tempt us into waiting passively for opportunities, luck, or external help. Yet Confucius teaches us that true progress comes not from waiting, but from doing. We may not achieve every dream exactly as we imagine, but through effort, we can create real change and meaningful accomplishments. The wisdom is clear. While we cannot wish for everything, we can work toward anything. Action turns possibility into reality, and when we dedicate ourselves fully, life rewards us with growth, resilience, and transformation. Lesson 39. He who keeps ritual understands happiness. CONFUCIUS once said, "Those who uphold propriety will know true happiness." This teaching highlights the importance of ritual, respect, and moral conduct in creating a life of peace and fulfillment. To Confucius, rituals and traditions were not empty gestures. They were the foundation of human connection, guiding people to live with dignity, harmony, and joy. When we respect and preserve these values, we nurture not only social harmony, but also inner happiness. There was once a wise king named David. Though intelligent and ambitious, he often struggled to maintain peace within his court. Conflicts arose among his ministers, disputes grew, and he found himself unable to create the unity he desired. Despite his cleverness, the palace was restless, and David felt burdened by constant discord. One day, David met an elderly teacher named Ethan, a man known for living a life rooted in ritual, respect, and virtue. Observing the king's distress, Ethan spoke gently, "If you uphold ritual in your actions and treat others with respect, you will discover peace within yourself. When your heart is calm, harmony will naturally extend to those around you. From that harmony, true happiness will follow." These words struck David deeply. He realized that wisdom and intelligence alone were not enough to bring order. It was respect, ritual, and propriety values that honored both tradition and human dignity that built trust and peace. From that day forward, David changed his approach. He listened carefully to his ministers, treated them with courtesy, and ensured that the laws and traditions of the land were upheld. Slowly, unity returned to his court, and with it came a sense of stability and joy. This lesson carries powerful relevance for our world today. Modern life often emphasizes speed, achievement, and individual success, yet it sometimes neglects respect, kindness, and tradition. When people forget the importance of propriety, whether in families, workplaces, or communities, conflict easily arises. But when respect and moral conduct are preserved, harmony follows. Confucius reminds us that true happiness is not built on wealth or power alone. It is born from the way we treat others and the values we uphold. By honoring tradition, practicing respect, and living with dignity, we create peace not only in society, but also within our own hearts. Lesson 40. The future belongs to those who dare to dream and strive. Confucius once said, "The future belongs to those who dare to dream and make the effort to achieve it." This timeless wisdom reminds us that dreams alone are not enough. To create a better tomorrow, we must have both vision and determination. Only by setting clear goals and dedicating ourselves to action can we truly shape our lives and move forward. There was once a young woman named Emily who always dreamed of becoming a doctor. From childhood, she imagined herself wearing a white coat, saving lives, and helping those in need. Yet her family lived in poverty, and every day was a struggle just to survive. Emily often felt that a dream was too distant, too impossible to reach. Doubt crept into her heart, whispering that her circumstances would never allow her to succeed. One day, Emily met a respected teacher named Mr. Thomas, a man who had endured countless hardships during his own journey of study and service. Seeing the uncertainty in her eyes, he offered her words of encouragement. "Never give up on your dream. To dare to dream and to dare to act upon it, that is the only path to success." These words lit a fire within Emily's heart. She realized that her dream was not impossible, it only required courage and relentless effort. From that moment, she committed herself to her studies with renewed determination. Day after day, she worked tirelessly, sacrificing comfort and leisure. Fueled by her vision of becoming a doctor, years passed, and Emily's perseverance finally bore fruit. She achieved her dream, graduated from medical school, and began her career as a doctor. Not only did she fulfill her childhood vision, but she also dedicated herself to helping countless patients, bringing hope and healing to others. This lesson speaks powerfully to our modern world. Today, many people allow challenges, fear, or self-doubt to silence their dreams. But Confucius teaches us that the future is not decided by luck or circumstance. It is shaped by those who dare to dream boldly and act with determination. The message is clear. Dreams are the seeds, and effort is the water. Together, they grow into the future we long for. To dream and to strive is to create the life we truly desire. Lesson 41. A noble person does not compete, but never ignores what is right. Confucius once said, "A noble person does not compete with others, yet they will never ignore what is just." This teaching emphasizes the balance between humility and courage. A true gentleman avoids unnecessary arguments and meaningless rivalries. But when confronted with injustice, he stands firm to defend what is right. Such steadfastness in upholding moral values is an essential part of noble character. There was once a man named Daniel. Known for his humility, he lived quietly and avoided conflicts whenever possible. Daniel believed that arguing over trivial matters only created division and wasted precious energy. For many years, he built a reputation as a calm and thoughtful member of his community. One day, during a village meeting, a powerful man attempted to seize the rightful land of the common people. The villagers remained silent, fearing confrontation. Daniel, however, felt the weight of justice pressing on his heart. Though he disliked disputes, he could not ignore this blatant act of injustice. Slowly, he rose from his seat and said with steady conviction, "I do not compete with anyone, but I will not remain silent when what is wrong is presented as right." His words struck the villagers with power and clarity. Daniel did not shout or argue aggressively. He simply spoke with calm determination, his voice carrying the strength of truth. Inspired by his courage, the villagers united and opposed the unfair claim. The powerful man, faced with their unity, eventually withdrew. From that day forward, Daniel was deeply respected. People admired not only his humility, but also his ability to stand firmly for justice when it truly mattered. His example showed that one does not need to engage in constant competition to earn respect. Instead, true dignity lies in knowing when to remain silent and when to act with unwavering conviction. This lesson speaks directly to our modern society. In a world filled with noise, arguments, and endless debates, it is easy to mistake volume for strength. Yet Confucius reminds us that wisdom is not about constant conflict. Real strength lies in restraint, but also in the courage to defend what is right when the moment calls for it. The noble person seeks no victory over others, only victory for truth. Lesson 42. Knowing contentment is a form of happiness. Confucius once said, "Happiness does not come from wealth or material possessions, but from knowing contentment." This timeless wisdom reminds us that true peace and joy are not found in endless desire, but in appreciating what we already have. When we let go of greed and learn to be satisfied, life becomes calmer, lighter, and more fulfilling. There was once a man named Richard. All his life, he chased after material things. No matter how much money he earned or how many possessions he gathered, he never felt it was enough. Each new success only fueled a deeper hunger for more. Yet with every pursuit, his heart grew heavier, restless, and unsatisfied. One day, Richard visited an old friend, a wealthy man who lived in a modest house. To Richard's surprise, this friend owned far less than he expected. There were no luxurious cars, no lavish furniture, no extravagant displays of wealth. Instead, the home was simple, quiet, and full of warmth. Curious, Richard asked, "With all your success, why don't you live a more luxurious life? Why not enjoy more than this?" The friend smiled and replied, "I already have everything I need. I don't need more to be happy." Knowing contentment, that is true happiness, these words pierced Richard's heart. For the first time, he paused to reflect on his endless chase. He realized that his constant pursuit of wealth had not brought him peace, only exhaustion. Happiness, he understood, was not about adding more, but about recognizing and appreciating what he already had. From that moment on, Richard began to live differently. He still worked hard, But he no longer measured his worth by possessions. Instead, he cherished simple joys, family meals, quiet evenings, and the peace of a grateful heart. This lesson is profoundly relevant today. In a world driven by consumerism and comparison, many believe happiness lies in owning more money, more success, more recognition. Yet Confucius teaches us that real happiness is not about having everything, but about appreciating enough. The message is clear: wealth may fill our houses, but contentment fills our hearts. When we learn to say, "I have enough," we discover the peace and happiness we have been searching for all along. Discover 8 timeless life lessons from Confucius that can guide us through challenges, inspire inner strength, and bring balance to our daily lives. These stories show how wisdom from the past still speaks powerfully to the present. Whether it's about patience, friendship, gratitude, or courage, each teaching from Confucius reveals a path to true happiness and harmony. This video is not just about ancient philosophy, it's about how Confucius can help us live with clarity and purpose today. Simple yet profound, his lessons remind us that knowledge means little without reflection, that justice requires courage, and that knowing contentment brings peace. Join us as we journey through these 8 teachings of Confucius, told in a story-driven and inspirational way, designed to touch hearts of all ages. If you've ever wondered how to find wisdom in everyday life, this is the perfect place to begin. In the end, the words of Confucius remind us happiness, justice, and growth start from within.